Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Reawakened Mom podcast. And I am here today with Andrea Andree, and she is a transformational and spiritual coach. So I cannot wait to dive in with her today. But welcome. How are you?
Hi, Melissa. I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait to dive in. And if you are listening to this on the podcast and you have YouTube, like totally go check out YouTube because I love all of the purple that you have on right now. It just looks so good and like just puts me in a good mood. It's like a
Oh,
good
thank you.
energy.
Thank you. I had to strip down. I get hot on
Yeah.
podcasts, so I've already taken off my outer layer.
Yeah, I totally get that. So tell the audience a little bit about like who you are, if you want to jump into kind of like your background, how you got to where you are. Would love to just kind of dive into that to give us a little sneak peek of yourself.
Yeah, I'll give everyone a little taste, and then if there's anything you want to get into more, we
Yeah.
can. I am a mom, of course, reawakened mom. I've got two littles. One is 8. She was born on Christmas, so my Christmas baby, and then one is 5. He's my summer baby. We live in Madison, Wisconsin. And what got me into this work, this transformational coaching, spiritual coaching, I really like to say that there were two entry points, and one of them was in the mom arena. And so my daughter, around the time she turned 1, so that was about the time she started moving and grooving and getting into things, I realized I was this very reactive mom in a way that I did not expect. Because, you always dream of the type of mom you're going to be. You're always a better mom before you become a mom, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so I dreamed of being this very nice, compassionate, supportive mom. And then she's touching things and she's going where I don't want her to go. And I was reacting and yelling and controlling. And I was like, where the heck did this come from? And
Mhm.
so I started going down the path of conscious parenting and just understanding where a lot of those reactions come from. And so I've started expanding that learning beyond mom life, but just really understanding, why am I triggered? That trigger is really an old pain. It has nothing to do with my kids. It has everything to do with them poking at this old pain that I just haven't dealt with at some point in my life. And so that path just really taught me about fears and triggers and how to breathe through them and get them out of my body, so that way I can hold space to be that compassionate mom that I wasn't able to be before. And I've started just rewiring how I show up so that way I can, again, be the mom that I had always wanted to be. And then I was also working in corporate, so totally separate. But my other entry point was as a corporate employee, just realizing that I was getting more and more unhappy and more had this feeling that if I stay on the corporate path, I'm not living up to my highest potential. I was like, well, I don't know what that means. And that sounds really scary. And so I'm just going to avoid the voice and I'm going to switch jobs because it must be the job's fault, right? It's
Yeah.
not anything within me. Switched jobs, got pregnant again, and distracted myself for a while until the voice came back a lot louder and a lot stronger. And at that point, I was at a new job and I liked the job and I liked the people and I was really good at it. But I asked myself, do I really want to stay here for another 30 some years, trading my time for money, working on projects that I don't really love, and just being at the disposal of somebody higher than me? Or do I want to figure out what this voice is trying to tell me? And so at that point, the unknown actually felt less scary than the idea of staying where I was. And I feel like that's a tipping point for a lot of people. It's like if the current path feels more painful, that's when a
Mhm.
lot of people are ready to make change. And so I put my hands up to the universe and I said, you know what, universe, I don't know what this is going to look like, but just show me. I'm willing, I'm open, just show me. And so that got me into spirituality and energy healing and learning how to channel for myself. And so it's just been this crazy, windy journey. And I'm skipping a lot of steps in between from then till now. But that was really what got me into this work.
Yeah. So how many years ago was it that you left your corporate job? Like when did this transformation for you happen?
It's been multi steps. And so I've recently realized it's been about 5 years since I threw my hands up to the universe and was like, show me. And I made the decision, but I didn't leave right away. And this is what I always tell people is you don't have to leave right away. You can still stay at the job, still support your family, and just be open to learning. And so for the next few years, I was simply open to learning. And then I left the job full time just over a year ago. So November, 2 Novembers ago.
Mhm. Awesome. I love that because I think so many people that are listening can relate to that, being in that job that is just like sucking your energy, or maybe you love it at the beginning. And then once you get in, or you have these expectations or what's it going to be, or like this ideal dream of like all the things that this job is going to be. And then you get there and it's like, reality sets in, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, is this really what I want for myself? And I know that happened with me, and I know so many other people. And I think that's the scariest thing. I think it's beautiful that you thought, gosh, if I stay here, that seems scarier to me or worse than if I don't, because I think so many people are opposite, where they
Mhm.
think, If I leave, that's the scarier thing. That's the unknown." Do you find
Mhm.
that?
I do. Yeah, I've had so many people tell me, "You're so brave. You're so brave." And I just want them to know they can do what I did too. And again, it doesn't have to be a big leap. You can do it in baby steps.
Yeah. So, how do you like once you got to that point and you started kind of learning? I always like to think of myself as like that lifelong learner as well. I love learning. There's never like an end point for me because there's always something new that I'm curious about. Like, once you ended up doing that, like, how was that for you? Like, I know you said you did that in like bite-sized steps. Like, you didn't leave at first, but
Mhm.
like you kind of learned, so you eased a little bit into it. But like once you left, like how was that for you? Because I know so many people that listen to are in that regular job, right? You go to work, you get your paycheck, you have a pension or whatever that looks like, to then going to working from yourself. How was that
Mhm.
transition from for you?
Yeah, it was rocky. I thought my business was in a better place to start bringing in clients and income. And I had this misconception that if you say yes to your spiritual work, things are just going to fall out of the sky and fall into your lap and it's going to be easy breezy. And it wasn't that. And it took me a few months. So I had a couple clients right away and then nothing. It was
Mm,
just radio silence for a long period of time. And there hit a point when I was getting pretty down on myself and really
yeah.
wondering, like, I never felt like I was on the wrong path because since I've been doing this for the last 5 years, I feel so, so strongly that this is exactly what I'm meant to be doing. And if I stay on this path, I will be successful. But I did not expect it to be that hard and to take so long. And what really turned it around was my coach now, Amanda Merritt. I had heard her on a podcast before I decided to work with her. And one of the impactful things she said was, "Are you being and showing up as the person your ideal clients would want to hire?" And I was
Mm,
like, "No, I'm not. Like, I'm hiding. I'm afraid to talk about what I do. I'm afraid to network. I'm afraid to put myself out there." And so I realized, like, how am I even going to coach people if I'm not walking my talk? And so a big part of last year was me working on myself, on my mindset, on my confidence, and just being willing to share what I do, introduce who I am to other people, get out of my comfort zone and meet people and try things. And so that's been the most impactful thing for me was I didn't need more tools, more marketing, more of those things. I really needed to have more confidence in myself to know who I
mhm.
was, to be willing to face my fears and go out there and do the things. And so that's the last 6 months of the year were much better than the first 6 months of last year for that reason.
Yeah, because it is like, people would say to you, "Oh, you're so brave to leave your job and do this." But, being an entrepreneur is in no way easy. Like, there
Yep.
are so many ups and downs emotionally,
Mhm.
financially, all the different things. There is no like that steady income coming in. There can be ups and then there can be dips. And then there can be times when it is like even, but you are constantly like working and trying and figuring things out, and like what feels good for me to be able to offer people and have them sign up for, and what do people want and how am I talking about it. So thank you for sharing that, because I think so many people think, okay, you have a business or you get out there and then like all of a sudden you have like 100 clients and you're crazy and it's insane. And but it is like, I think everyone, and if you see anyone on social media and you think, oh my god, they've reached it and here they are, I guarantee that they had like 2, 3, 4, 5 years before that,
Oh,
before
yeah.
you really started knowing them, because they probably were behind the scenes doing the work, working on themselves, working on their message, what lights them up. So thank you so much for sharing that, because I love to have those kind of conversations here.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, I'm happy to share. I feel like I'm here to be an example for what's possible, but also to show that it is up and down, and so I've that's been some of the work I've been doing is feeling more vulnerable in sharing so that way
Mhm.
other people don't feel so alone. So thank you for
Yeah.
calling that out.
Well, and you shared when you had your first child, you were talking about not showing up the way you wanted as a mom. And I think so many of us, I love how you put it, like, you think it's just going to be this fairy tale TV show, like, look at that angelic mom and she never cusses and she never does all these things and she's basically perfect. And
Mhm.
we all know, and especially if you're a mom, there is no one that is a perfect mother and there is no such thing because first of all, each of us have a different situation. We have different personalities, living styles, like values. So like what kinds of shifts did you start to make that helped you? I mean, I should ask, are you
Mhm.
a better parent? Like I don't know, do
Oh,
you feel
yeah.
like you're a better parent? Like
Yeah.
I actually I'm
Much,
walking you into
yes.
this, but is this true?
Much better. Still not perfect though. I had a lot to untangle from, but yes,
Yeah,
much better.
yeah. But I would love if you could share about that because you said you did some work on conscious parenting and all these different
Mhm.
kinds of things. So the moms that are listening that are feeling the way that you felt when you had a 1-year old and you were like, I'm not showing up, I'm getting upset, like I'm yelling or I'm crying more or whatever it was. Like, can you kind of walk us through like what that is and what helped you? Because I think that could help some of the moms listening too if they're
Mhm.
struggling right now.
Yeah, I'd love to. One of the first things that I did, so the conscious parenting program, it was really great in terms of teaching me and giving me the idea that our kids are really our soulmates and they're here to trigger the hell out of us so that way we can know what we need to heal. And so
Yeah.
it's like, all right, my kids, they're brave. They took on this role to make mommy mad so that way mommy can see her own pain and feel it. And but what I didn't love about it was this message of the pregnant pause where especially in the triggers, and so the first thing I worked on with my kids was the triggers and the reaction, and I didn't like the pregnant pause because I would pause and I would tell myself, "I'm not supposed to yell right now," and then I would yell, like, it just, prolonged, and I'm like, "There's gotta be another way." And so the approach that I took early on was I'm going to take responsibility for everything that I feel inside of me. I'm not going to say, "Oh, you made me mad," and blame my kids. Every time I get mad, every time I get triggered, frustrated, whatever it is, I'm going to look within. I'm going to find the pain in my body. I'm going to feel it fully and release it. And what that does is that it frees because the trigger is really coming from an unfelt emotion from your past. And what most of us do is we don't want to feel the emotion or we're not in tune. We can't feel it in our body because we're not actually in our body with our awareness. And so when something uncomfortable comes up, we make it someone else's problem. We yell at them. We want to punch a pillow. Whatever it is to make it someone else's problem, when really it's our own problem. It's our own unfelt emotion that needs to be felt. And so every time, and so there was a lot of tears. There's still a number of tears, but tears to me are good. Tears are healing. They're moving, they're releasing the old energy that's in there. And then I found you could get into solution energy. That's what I call solution energy. And so an example early on was I was just getting really upset that I had to pick up all these toys after my kids. And I was so frustrated and upset. And I said, okay, what is the thought going on in my head? And the thought in my head was, I'm going to be picking up these toys for the rest of my life. And so I was stewing in that thought. And so I paused and I said, okay, I'm going to feel this in my body. I'm going to breathe through it. And that releases the unfelt emotion that's down there. And then I realized, you know what? I never actually taught them how to pick up. I never set it as an expectation. I don't have, we don't have very organized places where they can put all these things. And so in that moment, I realized what so much of us as parents do is we're living in reaction instead of solution. But if you allow yourself to get out of reaction and into solution, then you can actually start making changes that empower your kids to show up instead of just yelling at them. You can actually set boundaries and teach them. And so that was a really powerful early lesson, was just the reactions and how I can start to take ownership of them and start to get on the other side of them to be a more conscious parent and make better choices. And then I mean, it's been a journey since then. One is trying to have more fun and be more playful because for me, I didn't know how to have fun. I was a kid that never let myself have fun. And so trying to bring some of that in. And also now I'm working on just better holding my energy in their big emotional moments, and so not letting their emotional moments then make me emotional, but holding my energy and holding space to be compassionate for them. So, compassion, I love this definition that I heard from somebody once. Compassion is patience with pain. And so, remembering that when they're emotional, like they're just feeling something in their body they don't know how to deal with. And it has nothing to do with me. And so, if I can hold space for them to calm down and be a safe space, then we can much easier get through it. And so, there's been a lot, probably more than that, but those are some of the highlights that I've been working on.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I have been reading a book, and one of the things they were talking about is like this communication aspect. And obviously, this was talking about it as, as communication, say with your spouse. So, but like you can't assume that they can read your mind. So, like, there's this expectation you said, like coming into motherhood, there's this expectation of your corporate job, there's this expectation of being a parent, of being a wife, like whatever. And so it was like you react. So like if you're happy, then you're putting out love into the world. But like if
Mhm.
you're not having a good day and you're upset, like then watch out, right? And it's so true most of the time. Like if people are portraying things onto you or say, saying negative things to you, a lot of the time it's something that's reflected in them, something that
Mhm.
they're trying to work on. So like you just said about your kids, like if you're yelling at your kids, more than likely it's not anything to do with your child. It's what happened a half an hour ago when you were in the car and like somebody cut you off, or something happened at work, or you didn't get that promotion, or you just got in an argument with your spouse. So I think it's really, I love what you said just about recognizing those things too. And you said holding your energy. I think that is just beautiful because I know I can be triggered by other people's energy. Do you have a tip on how to do that? Like, I'm just wondering, like, how
Yeah.
do you hold your own energy? Because now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like,
Yeah,
can you elaborate more on that?
I can. I've got 2 tips. One is through my human design, I learned that I'm emotionally undefined. Have you done your human design?
I am,
You
yes,
okay.
I do. I'm a
Yeah.
manifesting generator. I'm a
Manny
six
Gen.
two Manny
Okay.
Gen.
Awesome. And I'm a projector, and that part has nothing to do with the
Yeah.
emotional part. But I learned that I'm emotionally undefined, which what that means is I am going to feel the emotions of those in my environment and in my body. I will amplify them and make them bigger. And so
Mhm,
part of what I've learned is, one, there's the trigger. If it's not a trigger, two, am I just feeling their emotion? And if I am, then it's a matter of breathing through it, but not letting it take me over. And so that's just becomes conscious choice, because what I've learned is most of us are just unconsciously reacting to all these pressure centers and all these, energy and emotions that we feel in our body. And so I've just had to learn, you know what, I'm feeling it, but I'm not reacting to it. And maybe I can use it to understand them a little bit better. And so, whatever I'm feeling in my body, I can then turn it around and become, again, the compassionate mom and say, oh, I'm feeling angry. Now I know how to meet them where they're at instead of letting it overcome me. And so that would be, I guess, the second area. And then sometimes I'll sit in meditation and I'll pre-imagine my day, especially like getting ready for school in the morning, because that's so
mm,
difficult. And I'll
yeah.
just sit and I'll say, well, what would it feel like for them to listen to me and for them to just get up and to do everything that they're supposed to do and for me to just be happy and playful. And so I'll kind of pre-play my day with how I want it to feel, and sometimes that works too. So I've got a few different tools that I like to use.
Yeah, I love that. And just like imagining what you want to happen for the day versus like dreading, like, oh, it's going to be another day, or I hope it doesn't
Yep.
happen again. So you're already like predetermining, like you're thinking about that negative thing that happened yesterday. You hope it's better today. So you're kind of already putting the wheels in motion that more than likely it's probably going to happen. And then you're going to be like, see, I knew it would happen again,
Yep.
that vicious cycle. So no, I love those tips. So I'm definitely going to try that. And I think the meditating thing, I think some people can be so like adverse to it, or like I can't meditate, or I can't quiet my
Yep.
mind. But I mean, you're not saying this has to be like a 20-30 minute thing. Like it could probably be like a minute, or like 2 minutes, like
Mhm.
even while you're brushing your teeth, just like thinking about like what you want your day to look like when you go wake the kids up, or when you're coming down for breakfast, or whatever that's gonna look like. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
long, right?
Mm-mm. No, 5 minutes or less.
Yeah.
I have a Zen den with a chair that I sit in, and so that helps me, but certainly, yeah, you could brush your teeth, do the shower. It's just a matter of consciously stopping so that way you can feel it, because the feeling is really what does it for you. It's not just the
Mhm.
thought. So if you can brush your teeth, just stop, close your eyes, and just feel, what it would feel like to have everybody listen to you and feel what it would feel like for everybody to cooperate and how you would show up in that moment, then that can be a really powerful way to set the stage and to tell the energy what it is you want.
And that would lead me into like another question. And I know something that you said like you love to talk about too is how do you become a match for the life that you want? And it sounds like that's kind of the beginning of it. Like you're already starting your day thinking about like this situation and like how you want it to go. Like, can you dive a little bit deeper? Like, how do you become that match for the life that you want?
Yeah, so we have to remember that the universe is always meeting us where we're at. And so we're already creating a life based on our active thoughts and are the feelings that we have on a regular basis and our unconscious thoughts and our unconscious feelings. And so what it's been for me is I need to take time to choose. And what I do is I get in one and two places depending on what I'm feeling for the day. Sometimes I'll go in, what do I want to feel in my day? And I've got the words of how I want to feel. I want to feel free. I want to feel abundant. I want to feel creative. And I just role play in my body or through journaling, like what would it feel like to actually have that in my day more often? And then I find ways to bring those feelings into my day more because what happens is the more you feel something on purpose, your feeling state is really like the beacon that the universe is responding to. It's not responding to your mental thoughts as much as it's responding to your emotions. And so the more you can feel a certain way, the more it will bring you circumstances that reinforce that feeling. And so then it becomes a positive feedback loop. And so that was really where I started when I didn't even know that I wanted to be a coach. I didn't know that I wanted to be self employed. I just knew that I was stuck in corporate and I didn't want to feel stuck in corporate. And so I said, well, what are the core value feeling states that I want? I decided what those were, and then I made a plan to do those more in my day. The second piece now that I'm working on is now that I know I want to be a coach, I want to be a speaker, I want to have this really support my lifestyle and my family. Now I think about, well, how would that person act? What sorts of decisions would she make? What would she believe about herself? And so bringing things in that are like, people want to hear what I have to say, countering the belief that, oh, there's enough people out there, like, who's going to care? And so it's really coming up with those beliefs that would align to the version of me I want to become so I can make money with my message and I'm deserving of this lifestyle and I know that I can be supported in doing this. The universe will support me, other people will support me. And so it's really first aligning my mindset. What do I need to believe? And then it's how would she act? What decisions would she make if that was true right now? And then just starting to slowly make those decisions and start to act as if the life you want, you already have. So, what decision would I make if my business was a six-figure business? And how would I show up? What would I wear if I was on stage in front of 2,000 people? Like, can I do that now, even though there's only 10 people in the room? And really start to bring that version of you into your now. And so it takes, again, a lot of what we forget to do is that conscious intention setting of where we want to go. Most people are on autopilot, just reacting to life and just scooting by. And so it takes some time to decide what you want to feel, where you want to go, and then you need to start just bringing that into your life slowly.
Yeah. Oh, I'm like, I don't even know what to say. Like, I'm like, it was so, I'm just like, I love everything that you just shared. And I do feel like so many women maybe feel like I can't do it. Like, not me.
Mhm.
Like, because I think we're so hard on ourselves, or we just think once you get into that lifestyle or once you get set in your ways, like this is just the way it has to be. So I think that's just so beautiful and being able to design and create and co-create like your life and not knowing like, well, this is the end point. Because again, like you don't know how the trail is going to take you. You had no idea where you were going to be
Mm-mm.
going when you left corporate America and what you were going to be doing and when you started learning all these things. And I think it's also mixing that openness like when you're starting to do this with like just being open to what unfolds and not knowing like this is the path like and this is what I have to be doing But trust, which is also a very hard thing to do because I don't know about you, but I like to control things.
Mhm.
So trusting that there is a plan and you might not know every step, but it is there. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to say that. And also, do you also recommend or do you do affirmations? So, like the things that you were saying, they also sound like affirmations to me.
Mhm.
Like, do you do affirmations or suggest for people to put them up places? Because once you get into your head, sometimes it's hard to remember those beautiful things that you just said and that you want. So, do you believe in kind of doing affirmations too?
I do. I believe that first you need to believe them. And so you're not going to have someone who is in a one bedroom apartment saying, I believe that I can have this $10 million mansion with a yacht. And so you also have to believe the affirmation that you're
Hmm.
choosing. And then the second way I use it is I use it to highlight any unconscious beliefs that are stored in my body that don't align with that. And so I want to clear those out first. And so if I have an affirmation like I I'm always really bad at the fly, but I'm worthy of this lifestyle. And then somewhere in my unconscious is like, oh no, you're not. You're only worthy. Like I've actually pulled out, you're only worthy of like a low six-figure salary, like somewhere that was stored in my unconscious. And you're not going to make money if that's stored in your unconscious. And so the first thing, yes, I set the affirmation and then I'm like, okay, body, what are you going to do to fight me on that? I want to see it because you need to see it in order to move past it. And then I come back to the affirmations once that energy is out of my body. And the way I do it, and whatever works for you is what you can do. I have them written on, I have a separate journal right now for the things I want to manifest. And then my affirmations, so I'm calling them my power statements. So I look at those a couple times a week and I read through them. And sometimes I say them out loud and I really feel them. And that then the more I do that, the more I remember to just come back to them. Like I have one right now about content because I do content on, Instagram and LinkedIn. And so my power statement is my content is juicy and potent AF. And so that gets me fired up. And when I say it before I do content, I get different content than if I just kind of show up and start writing content. And so I always need a place to remember to come back to them because you're right. You write them once, you don't come back to them, they're not going to be as powerful. So wherever that means, if it's, you put your work ones in front of your computer, whatever that works for you. For me, they're in a journal that I look at in the morning.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. We could keep talking forever, and so I love podcasting because I'm so curious about people, but I only want to have people on here that I'm curious about and like are just so amazing. But I know then I want to talk to them for hours, and so I also want to recognize the person listening and their time and have it be valuable and not go on for days and days and days. But is there anything, we've touched on quite a few different areas today too. Is there anything that you feel is on your heart that maybe you haven't said that you just kind of want to tell the moms that are listening?
Hmm. Yeah, I have a soft spot for moms that are also working. And I just want to highlight this because maybe this isn't in their awareness. But one of the things I noticed with me and I noticed with every single one of my clients is a lot of our behavior around the work we do is because at our core, we really don't feel enough without it. And so we are using our jobs, we're using our achievements to define our value. We feel like we're not enough unless we get that certain achievement. I went and got my master's because I didn't feel like I was enough without it. We're looking for people to validate us. We're looking for all of those outside things to define how successful we are. And I want everybody to know that you don't need all of those things because what that's really doing is that's making you morph yourself into what you think people want from you
Mhm.
instead of owning who you are and shining your light out to the world, because that's really what and who you're designed to be. Is you're designed to know yourself so deeply, to love yourself so much that it doesn't matter what people say. You just go out there and you give it to the world. And so I want to bring people back to themselves and just have them start to consider that maybe you're whole and enough and valuable just the way you are. You don't need all those things. And how would you show up differently? Maybe you wouldn't stay after to write those emails if you knew that. Maybe you wouldn't say yes to too many projects. Maybe you would set better boundaries if you knew that you didn't need all of those things to define you. So that's another thing that I love to talk about and remind women of.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. The only one scripted question that I have every podcast episode. So if you've ever listened to the very end, you know exactly what the
Yeah.
question is. But I do believe that we as women do not celebrate ourselves enough. And so I would love to know, what is something that you absolutely love about yourself right now?
I love that I'm still here and I'm still going. And I'm a crier, so I'm gonna try not to cry,
No,
but
please cry. Like this, you said,
yeah,
working on being more vulnerable. Like
I
that's exactly what
know.
this space is
I
for.
know. I ugly cry when I think about just
Oh,
like, I'm still here. I'm still like someone just left me a message. I did a brand audit because I've been having trouble kind of articulating what it is that I do recently. And she's like, "You're just going for it. Like, I love your heart. I love your dedication." And I'm like, "You know what? I have been going for it." And like, I feel so strongly about what I do. And I just know that it's only a matter of time before it really works out for me. And so I'm just really proud of myself for,
oh.
putting in the time and the effort and getting here.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Congratulations. Like
Thank
you're
you.
doing it. And it's a matter of just you continuing to just show up every single day when it's
Yep.
hard, when it's easy, when it just feels like you're in flow. It's just like, okay, I'm still here. Like
Yep.
I'm still listening to the message. Like,
Right.
okay
Yep.
now. So congratulations for that.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's beautiful. How can people find you? Because I'm sure people are going to want to connect with you and just get
Hmm.
to know you a little bit more, kind of see what you're doing.
Hmm. Yep, the 2 social media channels I hang out more on is LinkedIn, which under my name, Andrea Andree, or Instagram, which you can find me if you search
Yeah.
my name. My handle is Mom's Gone Quantum, which is funny to say out loud, but in writing, people are like, "That's awesome."
Yeah.
Um, and if anyone is interested in getting into some of that work that I just talked about, which is the bringing yourself back to yourself and redefining how you think about success and worthiness and value, then I have a free video series that I would invite them to go check out. It's called Ignite Your Glow, and it's a 5-part confidence video series where again, you're really redefining some of those elements and looking at them in a way that empowers you. And so that is at andreaandree.com/ignite. And I know you'll have all those in
Yeah.
the show notes because you have all my links.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing your message and using your voice and being vulnerable. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for holding the space, Melissa. I loved our
Yeah.
conversation.
Awesome. Thanks.
Hmm.
Bye.
Bye.